Thank you for tuning into my channel. My name is Sarah. Today, I have this pile of caña brava that I cut from up there on that part of the land. So this is caña brava. It's like a really strong grass, I guess. I don't know if you call it grass or not. But the best part about it is the animals can eat this when it's green. I've been cutting it and using it in my compost and as mulch. But this part right here, when it dries properly and you treat it, can be used to build, like if you do like a wattle and daub, or if you do like houses in barrio, they call it here, like mud houses basically. This is really strong and can be used in the walls, and then you can use it for a lot of things, but it's good for building. So my plan was to let this dry there where it's still standing tall, it just dries, and then they all dry while still in the ground, right? So then it would dry better and it wouldn't get this funky curve, because when I cut it, it kind of all curved, and then the dog decided to pee on it and poop on it, and now it's wet because we're in wet rain season again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it over down there to mulch just around some trees, like as is. And I'm going to keep the ones I can to use that were staying straight, like these I've been using and cutting them apart to dry. And I also I put them here to guard my lettuce. I planted a little bit of lettuce here to guard against dogs from eating it and digging it up. Okay, so why did I cut it all then if I wanted it to dry? Well, a lot of you have made comments about safety living in rural Colombia, and the comments are 100% true. Most of them are from Colombians. So here's the deal. So people here in Colombia, like I said, they will steal your stuff and they will trespass. This is very common in rural areas. So we actually have security cameras, and we're going to put one over there because someone a few weeks ago came onto the land and decided to cut my caña brava, half of it, when, you know, I was letting it grow because I want to use it for something else. So someone came onto the land and decided to cut it, and they most likely did that really early in the morning, probably like 5 in the morning. The dogs, they can't see up there. We can't hear if anybody's up there. And so I just went and cut it all down, attempting to save what I can to use, because I'm actually going to use these as stakes in my garden. These are going to be used as stakes in my garden, as well as I'm going to build garden beds with them, because they're really strong. And they'll take a while to break down, so the bed will last maybe a year or so. So I'm still going to be using that, but it's just not going to be as good as I want it, because they kind of break here in the middle. Like this one's curved and a little broken right here, so it's not going to be super great. Anyways, the point is safety. In regards to safety, when it comes to living in rural Colombia, if I'm going to say if you have a fence, but we have a half a fence. I say if you have a fence, so you should have your property all fenced in. If not, people will come onto your land. I say that not having my property all fenced in, which is why we are eventually going to have the whole property fenced in. When it's all fenced in, I will give you another update on whether or not people cross into my property, because, you know, we can put up no trespassing signs. It's not going to work. If someone wants something, they're going to come and take it. And the Colombians live by the rule of ask forgiveness, not permission. So they will just, if you tell them no, they will come on and take it. And then, you know, you have to, I have no idea who did it. It was one of our neighbors who has cows or something. It was early in the morning. And you see them doing it all over. It's just really common. You see people on their machetes walking up into somewhere that you know they don't live there, and they are just taking things. But usually when there's a fence, it's pretty good. Like, okay, I see you have a fence. I'm not going to cross onto your property line. Well, I say that, but then it's not really true. So it's a free-for-all. I should say it's a free-for-all. And that kind of one thing that annoys me here is like the lack of respect for someone else's property. And you know, it happens everywhere. It's not just here, But here you do have to be more cognizant about it. And I've had a few comments saying you can't leave your house empty. So for those of you interested in buying land in Colombia, it is true. If you buy rurally, you cannot let your house sit empty. Someone could move into it. If they know no one lives there, they think it's abandoned or not. Someone could come in there and just start living, as well as no one's going to say anything. Your neighbors will not say anything. They will not come and say, hey, that's someone's house, unless you have paid the neighbor to watch your house, to keep an eye on your house. So that is really common. It's common here to have, when I leave or if our house is ever empty, which our house is never empty. And now we have security cameras. We're putting in the fence. And I live in a relatively, I say relatively safe, but over the weekend, last weekend, people were killed in our town, and it's a very small town, 12,000 people. So we're having a little bit of increase in security danger here. So we are having a little bit of an uptick in crime this year, I think, because there is some gangs that have been kind of like hovering in this area of Antioquia. And it's on the news. You can read, I'll link some articles below. So yeah, you never can leave your property empty. You always have to have a caregiver staying on your land to watch it while you're gone, or you have to have someone keeping an eye on it. And I mean someone keeping an eye on it, not just like, oh, hey, I'm watching their house. I mean, literally, they have to go to your house every single day and check so people think that someone is there, or at least know someone is keeping an eye on your piece of land or your house. People are very nosy. They will know if you're home or not, because Colombians are very nosy. They want to know what's going on. Like my neighbors there, they always see us here. So if one day they didn't see us here, they would know we're not here. But also if they saw someone breaking in, they're not going to stop them. They're not going to say, oh, hey, do you live there? They're not going to say anything. Your neighbors, unless you are paying them or you have asked them to keep an eye on your house, they will not just say, oh, hey, they're on vacation, but someone lives there. No, they're not going to say that. So you can't say, oh, my neighbor will keep an eye on it, unless you have explicitly asked and you need to pay them to do that for you. So yeah, so we have security cameras. We're going to put the fence up. And I say all this with, we are always home. One of us is always here. One of the three of us is always here. We have 3 dogs, and someone still came onto our land and took something. Even though it's not a big deal because it's just caña brava, it's not a big deal that what they took, it wasn't like it was valuable. I mean, I want to use it, but now I'm going to end up throwing it away because I cut it because I was really angry. Let's just say I was really angry when it happened. Like when someone has like a disrespect for me, that's like one of my triggers, is like, I don't like it because they clearly know we're here. They clearly, and they probably have asked if they can have it before, and we have told them no. So I'm sure it is one of those people. So for me, the disrespect, I get really angry, so I just cut it so no one can use it. I know, it's like really selfish and petty, and yeah, I know. And now I'm like, can't even really use most of it because I've let it sit here and it got rained on. So yeah, anyways, it's the point. I got really pissed. So now Rafa is working on fixing the fence. We've talked to the neighbor who we share the water with. And that was a huge issue too. The neighbor who we share the water with, we can just say it's not legal. And the previous owner was like really more relaxed. He was Colombian, obviously more relaxed than me. I'm not as relaxed as most Colombians. And he would just let him come onto the land without telling him, go down, do what he has to do, mess with whatever. And I was like, no, if you want to come onto my property, you need to either let me know or ask me and make sure we're home, because these dogs see someone down there and they go absolutely insane. They're insane. And if I let them run, they were not going to attack. Well, they might attack. I don't even know, to be honest. So after asking my neighbor multiple times before he comes onto my property, he must let me know. And I did tons of research on this. Like, property rights in Colombia are similar to that in the US. Water rights are also similar. Water rights, he has the right to use the water because he's been using it. But the water is up here. So for him to go there, it's not a big deal. But for him to actually enter and walk onto my property is illegal, because he does not have like the special, there's a special paper that if he had permission to come onto the land anytime he wants, it would have been conveyed into my paperwork with the house. He didn't have that. So basically I got really mad at him and yelled at him and told him, you know, you can't come on my land unless you ask me. And I told him having that thing there is technically illegal because he has a water tank down there. And he's like, oh, we've never had a problem before, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, well, it's not, I don't have paperwork for it. So I got really angry. And then anyways, I came and talked to Rafa. And basically Rafa said, oh, dude, all we want is you to ask us permission. We'll always say yes. It's just the point to ask before you come on so we know you're down there. The dogs don't go crazy. You know, and I don't let them out because I let them out and go down, run down there. And he's coming on here with his dogs and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, yeah, he now asks because Rafa said, well, if you don't ask permission, that's trespassing. And we will have to get a lawyer to get involved and get a piece of paper and then blah, blah, do it legally. Because nothing's done here. Hardly anything here is done legally unless they are really like, well, most people aren't going to go to a lawyer. So anyway, so we said, you know what, if you're not going to ask permission before you enter the property, we will take further action if he's not going to ask to come onto our property because it's trespassing. Just like people come like on your brava, it's trespassing. Anyways, the neighbor said fine or whatever, and now he asked permission. And we're always going to say yes because we're like, it's not the point of you coming on, it's the point of you not asking permission before you come on. So we've had no problems with that before, but we had to threaten that we would go to a lawyer. And now we're getting a fence because they said that we can put a fence as long as he can get access to the water and he lets us know that's not a problem. So we're working on it. So yeah, so for those of you looking to buy in rural Colombia and you think you can just leave your house empty without anyone watching it and it will be fine, it will not be fine. And I live in, like I said, a relatively safe area. Well, we're having a little uptick of crime, but just to be very transparent of how it works here. So I thought I would just share that with you. And yeah, my little petty of taking the caña brava, I understand it's petty, but it's the point. Because here, if you don't put a stop to something right away, what's next? They'll come and cut the guadua in the morning without us knowing and do it. Well, we'll hear that, but they'll come. They'll keep pushing, pushing, and pushing unless you push back, unless you take measures to stop it. So that's what we're doing. And that is a very Colombian thing to do. If you guys are watching this, you're Colombian, I'm sure you, I don't know, maybe you won't agree with me. Maybe you'll think that I'm just being stupid. But what I've witnessed from living here for a very long time, almost 4 years, 2.5 permanently here, and 3-4 years off and on. So yeah, it's like a thing that will push, 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 and you have to kind of set your boundaries. You really have to set hard boundaries when you live in the countryside. And this is the thing, Colombians are very nice. And they're like, yeah, my neighbor's like, tranquilo, tranquila, está bien, está bien. They're like, no problem, no problem, no problem. But you know, when you cross my land, it becomes a problem. And unless you say something or you do something, they'll keep doing it and they'll keep pushing further and further and further and further and further and further. And then you just get walked all over. So anyways, we nipped that in the bud real fast because they know better. And people will try to take advantage of you, especially if you are the foreigner. So that's why it's good to know the laws, it's good to know the rules of the country you're living in. Anyways, that's it. So I just wanted to share, to be very transparent of how it is here. With a little danger, you know, you have to set your boundaries and just know what you're walking into before you move here and buy property. So thank you so much. I'm going to finish cleaning this up, take the dogs for a walk, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.